Well, I mean, anyone can save the galaxy once. Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. And today, we are talking about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Why? Because I already talked about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1.
Hey there.
And Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is coming out in a short amount of time. And at the time I am recording this, it's only like, I think like 2 weeks away. But again, by the time I publish this, I have no idea when this is going to be out. So, I don't know when you'll see this. But I am so stoked. I love the Guardians of the Galaxy so much. They're awesome. And Guardians 3 is the end of their line. It's time. They're going to face the music. It'll be their final tour. So I'm preparing myself emotionally for the end. So, how am I doing that? By getting emotional over the first two films. So yeah, let's just get started. I don't have any notes for this because I rewatched it and I just want to enjoy it. So here we go. Let's see if I can remember all the great stuff to talk about. So let's see. The characters, once again, are great. I think they do a great job at continuing the character arcs that we got in the previous film. It continues Star-Lord's arc with a story that I actually enjoyed, with us exploring what happened to his father and a little bit more about his mother. We finally get that answer figured out of who the heck his father is and where he comes from. Gamora, once again, we continue her storyline. I love how they continue her storyline with Nebula, too. We get this incredible, in my personal opinion, story of these two sisters. I love the backstory they give us of them, of how Nebula was very much tortured by her quote-unquote, air quotes, father, Thanos, and was very obviously the least favorite child. And they go into this actually emotional story of how Gamora, it seemed like she just wanted to win, but the truth was she just wanted to survive. She was scared. She just wanted to make sure that she survived. Meanwhile, to Nebula, all she wanted was a sister, someone to be there for her, but she didn't have that because Gamora had to win every single time. I just think that, like I said, I think Nebula has one of the best story arcs in the MCU. Yes, Iron Man is probably the greatest story arc in the MCU, but I think Nebula is like top 3 best character arcs in the MCU, in my personal opinion. I know not a lot of people will agree with me on that, but I just love her character arc so much. And her story with Gamora is just so great in this. I love how they establish it way more. Drax, he feels almost completely different from how he did in the first film, which at first, like, watching for the first time, even the second time, even the third time, I was like, this guy feels weird. Why does he feel like a completely different character? But after watching it for, like, after rewatching a couple more times after that, it actually does feel like it adds up a little bit more because of the fact that, like, one, he finally has a new family that he can open up to, but also, two, he did get Ronan, who was one of the big steps into avenging his family. So it kind of adds up, but still feels very odd because he still takes everything too seriously, but he's like, I don't know, like, the way he was in the first film was kind of like, I don't know how to explain it. Darker, more serious. I don't know how to explain it. I mean, not dark. It wasn't darker, but you know what I mean. He feels very different. But I still love him so much in this movie. He's just so much fun. I love spending time with Drax because he's awesome. And then Baby Groot is so adorable. I love Baby Groot. He's the best. I mean, he can be a little menace sometimes, but he's the best. He's so hilarious and cute, and I love Baby Groot. What else is there to say about him? He is Groot. But then Rocket also, I feel like they very much expand on his storyline in this movie, which we're going to see more of in the third film. But still, in this one, they still explore more of him because, like, okay, he's a part of the family, but he's kind of a jerk to all of them, especially Quill. And, at first it seems like, well, he's just being a jerk because he's a jerk. But then we learn by the end of the movie that he's just pushing them away because he actually is. He's scared. He's scared of feeling that emptiness again, because as we'll learn in Guardians 3, he did have someone in his life beforehand. And I love how they pulled Yondu and Rocket's storylines together, which made the end with Yondu even more emotional. Because of the fact that they revealed that Yondu and Rocket are very similar. They have a lot of similarities. They both they both were unwanted when they were created slash born. They both were practically tortured, with Rocket being torn apart and put back together to be experimented on, and Yondu being a slave. They both thought they could have a connection just for it to be ripped away from them. They both have been hardened, and I just love the fact that they connect these two characters, and it makes this really emotional. Like the one scene I love is when Yondu is confronting Rocket in the ship right before they go into Ego, and he's like yelling these things to Rocket. He's like, and it ends with, "I know who you are, boy, because you're me." I'd be lying to you if I said they didn't bring a tear to my eye. Like, you're welcome. Like I just thought that was just so amazing and emotional. So yeah, like I said, Yondu, I love Yondu. Even like I enjoyed him in the first film, but this movie made him even better. I think that's because of the fact that in the first film he was a fun, funny character that we were rooting against, because he was kind of portrayed. He wasn't necessarily portrayed as a villain, but like we were rooting for the Guardians, and he didn't really help the Guardians till the very end, and even then he wasn't helping them until it helped him. But in this film, it really expands more on his character, telling us probably why he is the way he is. They even touched on how he became a Ravager. They gave him a connection with Rocket, and they showed that he actually does care about Quill more than he let on in the first film. And they really did make him like the father to the real father to Star-Lord, which I personally loved, and I thought was just another part of the emotion that in this movie that's just so great. Now, the villain in this movie, Ego, Star-Lord's dad, I thought was pretty good, but he probably could have been better. Like, I didn't think he was a bad villain. I think, honestly, he might even be a better villain than Ronan from the first film, but he still isn't the greatest villain ever. Like, first of all, technically, we're not even told that he's the villain until, like, the third act of the movie, when it's finally like, oh, he's a villain. Now, I'm just saying, back in 2017, 2016, when we got the first trailer that revealed Ego, in the trailer where Ego's like, my name's Ego, and I'm your dad, Peter, my immediate thought was, he's the villain of the movie. And guess who was right? I'm not bragging. Maybe a little. But yeah, so I thought he was a good villain. And it kind of felt like there's more emotional stakes because of the fact that Star-Lord finally met his father, but he has to come to terms with the fact that he's not a good guy. And they never show us all the evil things he's did, but they make him out to be really evil, like extremely evil. And now, part of me thinks it would have been cooler if they lived up to the Ego the Planet thing, and it had like this planet actually talk stuff, but that would have been way too cheesy, I think, for the MCU probably. But so that was an interesting thing to do. But yeah, and just like the first film, this movie I think does a pretty great job with comedy and emotion, because the emotion hits hard, but the comedy is also really good. Now, I think this is a flaw in this movie, is that it kind of feels like to me that after a lot of the pros of the first film and people praising the first film was the comedy and how, oh, this movie was so hilarious, it kind of felt like they were like, people think this movie was funny, let's make the second one an all-out comedy. And because of that, I'm not sure that's true or not, just saying, that's probably not true. But the humor to me did feel a little more forced in this film, but I think part of that also is because of the fact that it's the second movie, so we're expecting it to be funny like the first movie. The first movie was kind of a surprise, like, whoa, this movie's hilarious. The second one we're going into it expecting it to be hilarious like the first film, so that kind of makes it feel like some of the humor feels more forced. I mean, a lot of it still made me laugh. There were some jokes that missed, but for the most part, they all hit. And the emotion, just like I said, it hits hard, especially with Yondu and everything with him. And we're gonna get to him after because I want to talk about the beginning with Baby Groot, because I think the beginning is one of the greatest openings in an MCU movie, because it's so much fun, with the opening up with Mr. Blue Sky, and it has him dancing while the Guardians are trying to defeat this creature, and it's just so much fun and hilarious. I love the interactions too, like Gamora's like, get out of the way, you're gonna get hurt. He waves at her, he's like, hi. I just think it's the best. It's so much fun. But like I was saying with Yondu, it's, oh gosh, his death, in my personal opinion, is the second or third most emotional death in the MCU. For me personally, because Black Widow and Iron Man are up there. With permanent death, I mean. When it comes to, well, actually, Groot would be up there too. I don't know. It's hard because like Spider-Man was emotional, but that was not permanent. So, like, I just thought the emotion with him, like, oh my gosh, seeing it for the first time in the theater was, oh gosh, yeah. Let's not talk about it. Let's not talk about it because that, oh my gosh, it was so emotional. Oh my gosh. I think it might have been the most I've cried at an MCU movie. Not counting Infinity War and Endgame. So like third most emotional movie. But yeah, I just love Yondu, and the emotion hit so hard with him. And the thing is, it didn't even stop at his amazing sacrifice, because it kept going with his funeral and having the Ravagers, who pretty much cast him out earlier in the movie, showing up and be like, he didn't disappoint us. They put on a funeral for him while playing this emotional song. I believe it's called Father and Son with Peter, and gosh, it's just so great and also so awful because it's just so emotional. Oh gosh, I just think that's handled so well. Like, yeah, I should just stop talking about it because, yeah. Also, I realized that the opening of the film was Ego and Meredith Quill. It wasn't Groot dancing. That was technically right after, but you know what I mean. I love that scene. But yeah, so the rest of the movie, I don't know what else to really talk about because I pretty much talk about the characters. Now I know this is a movie that I feel like is kind of mixed for some people. Like, this seems to be a movie that's very divided. There are people who like absolutely love it and they think it's great, like top 5 MCU, and there are people who are like, this movie is awful. It's not nearly as good as the first. It's towards the bottom end of the MCU. I love the movie because of the fact that it's about the Guardians of the Galaxy. I love seeing them again. However, and I do think it does have some weaknesses. I think it has some more weaknesses than the first film. Like I said, I think that the comedy isn't as good as it was in the first film. However, I think that there's a problem with the tone in this movie. Like, it does, like, this movie more than the other one, I think, it feels like it goes like extremely dark and then extremely comedic right after each other. I mean, they find this cave full of tons and tons and tons of skeletons, and they say like, oh yeah, that's Ego's children, Star-Lord's siblings. Yeah, that's extremely dark. And like that, like another thing that's like extremely dark is like the Ravagers are pretty much committing mass murder by murdering like a whole bunch of each other, and then it cuts to like a joke, and then like it is extreme. There's like, it gets like extremely dark and extremely comedic. That's kind of a weird mix in tone. I still really enjoy it, even though it is like it goes from one extreme to the next. I do think it still does balance. I still think it balances out the darkness and the comedic stuff better than other movies. Thor: Love and Thunder. Sorry. I think people are going to disagree with me on this, but I think that this movie still balances the drama and the humor better than Thor Ragnarok. I love Thor Ragnarok, but I think even this movie is better with balance in the comedy and drama than Ragnarok was. I think a lot of people disagree with that, but that's just how I personally feel. But yeah, and like I know some people have said that they don't like how the fact that the villain isn't revealed till halfway through the movie. I don't mind it as much because of the fact that I'm here for the Guardians, for the 5 Guardians, the 5 main Guardians, plus Yondu and Nebula. Those are the ones I care about. Those are the ones I want to spend time with. Those are the ones I want to learn more about, and I want to see grow. Honestly, like, funny too is, for me personally, out of all the A-listers to get a Disney Plus show, I would see a Disney Plus show of these people, just so I could see their daily lives and see them go on daily missions. I think that's why I love the video game so much too, because I love the video game too, which is a great game. Like, if you haven't played that game, go play it. But yeah, so because I just love spending time with the Guardians, which is why I think it's why I love this movie so much. And don't mind the fact that the villain is introduced till closer to the end of the movie. And I also think that the finale, the third act, I think it's really cool. I really enjoy it. Also, I forgot to talk about Mantis. I enjoyed her inclusion. She gets way better, I think, in the holiday special. Like, I think she's kind of on the okay side in this movie. She's hilarious in this movie, but I think she's on the okay side until the Guardian special. The Guardian special, I think, made her way better. But she's still fun and enjoyable. Her banner with Drax is just the best. Like, the chemistry, those two seem to have a lot of chemistry. I love those two together. They're so fun and hilarious. So yeah, I really enjoy this movie. The soundtrack, once again, is amazing. Whether you're talking about the actual songs, which, once again, every single song is great in this movie, just like the first film. That's why I'm kind of excited for the third Guardian soundtrack. I think it technically leaked or whatever, but I'm avoiding that because I want to be surprised in the theater. But like the entire soundtrack is great, and it does a great job also at making the scenes even better. And sometimes it can just be so powerful, like when the chain, that song, I believe that's the name of the song, is used, it makes the two scenes it's in even more powerful. Especially, like, I love the one scene when he goes to fight his father, everyone is like being beaten, and that song starts playing, and Quill thinks of his mother, every member of the Guardians, and Yondu, and then he just goes and fights Ego. It's just awesome. I love that. So yeah, I think this movie is really good. I really enjoy the movie. It does have some flaws, but I don't care. I love the movie. But what did you guys think of this movie? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you think it was okay? I love to hear what you guys think of this movie, because I enjoy it. I'm so excited for Guardians 3, but I'm also extremely nervous. I don't want it to end. Like I said, I love the Guardians. I love these characters. I love seeing more of these characters. But yeah, Plus, this movie does a great job at ripping your heart out, stomping on it, picking it back up, ripping it in half, stomping on both pieces, and then lighting it on fire. The movie does a great job at doing that. So, if this movie can do that, I think the final Guardians movies could be even worse. So, I'm kind of nervous. But, hey, if the third film can balance the comedy and the drama and not just be only emotions and be comedy and drama mixed of both, I think the movie could be great. Because I think that's why I love these two movies so much. So, I mean, a big part of that I think is James Gunn. I think he does a great job with the Guardians movies, because he's able to mix the comedy and the drama. But yeah, like I said, let me know what you think of this movie. Are you excited for Guardians 3? Thanks for taking time to watch. Hope to see you guys in the next video. And until next time, remember, we are Groot.